Welcome back to the channel. Today we're looking at my Trek Marlin 6. I think I have I know I have some braking issues on the rear brake. It does almost nothing. So that's usually one of a couple of basic things, like the brake rotor is dirty, the brake pads are contaminated, or you potentially don't have enough brake fluid in the reservoir slash master cylinder, not sure what you call it on bicycles. I think though from the process of elimination that it's in the brake pads. For instance, when I try the front brake, it feels very similar to the right brake. There's a little more play here, so the fluid might be maybe a little low. I can check that. The brake rotor I have kept pretty clean with brake cleaner, and it's easy to clean because you can turn it. The pads, however, I'm not so sure. Yeah, there we are here. Once dirt gets in there, I think it's pretty hard to get back out. So I'm just gonna go ahead and replace the pads because they're dirt cheap. So first thing, I'll get the wheel off and I'll be back. All right, wheels off. I think the first thing I wanna do so that I don't forget, just to make sure, is I'll give the brake disc another cleaning with the brake cleaner. Rather than spray it everywhere and make a mess and also getting it onto my gear cartridge, I'll just spray it on the shop towel and then I'll just wipe both sides real quick just to make sure that's clean. All right, here we are on the back. I can see that the pads are held in by this cotter pin. So assuming I can pull that out, get a focus there, and you can see the other half of it here, and then over top, with any luck, the pads will come out. I think there's a lot of thickness left there, so yeah, maybe just contaminated. So let's go ahead and pull that cotter pin out. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. Let's see. All right, that might be good enough. Let's see if I can pull that now. Yeah, no problem. Here's the cotter pin. Gonna keep that for later. And let's see, you know what? I'm gonna go around the other side real quick. All right, and we can see the pads now. I know that this kind are magnetic. Let me zoom out a little bit. Maybe that's better, I don't know. And I think we should just be able to push that out, yeah. That's actually pretty easy. I'm gonna try to keep everything together so I have a bit of a reference point. If I do screw up, there's always a Trek Marlin 6 over there I can verify against. Right, so that looks pretty straightforward. And here are my replacements. Let's go over to the little work surface so I can open that up. Take a closer look. Oddly enough, it's dark here, but the light is better. Right, so I've got the pads. It's falling apart, but the pads are on the outside of these clips, or rather the pads are inside the clips, sort of holding them together. Take a close look at the surface. Some light on it. Like I said, the thickness is okay. Should have 1 millimeter. The surface, I'm not so sure. Looks pretty glazed. Anyways, let's open up the new package and we'll take a look at those. All right, so old pad on the left, new pad on the right. You can tell pretty easily that the left-hand side is super glazed, probably with some sort of contamination. The thickness is pretty much the same. I mean, I guess the new one has maybe a little bit more pad life. That's not really relevant, but I'm pretty sure that that brake surface is contaminated and no longer good. So let's get these new pads in. Back here at the caliper again. Now, if the brake pads had been seriously worn down, the caliper would be probably protruding out of the pistons, or the piston rather would be protruding out of the caliper and would have to be pushed back in. But it's looking like that's not the case here, because it's hardly been worn at all. You can see that that's mostly flush. And if I can see the other one, which is kind of tricky, that's not it. There's the other one, sort of. That is sticking out a little bit, so I mean, it's probably not going to be a huge deal. I can try to push it back a little bit with a screwdriver. I mean, the piercer can be mad at me because I'm doing it wrong, but when the only tool you have is a screwdriver, everything looks like a screw, right? I think that's going to be fine anyway. So let's go put the pads in that new little spring that came with the kit, and we'll put it back in. All right, I got the pads in the new spring. Pretty sure it goes like this. You can see the tines of the spring are grasping at the friction material. I think it goes like this because I don't think it can really go any other way. Yeah, get confident, stupid. I'm sure this is fine. If it's not, the bike will tell me real soon. So let's go over to the bike. There's a view of the caliper. Try not to screw that up too badly. And I think it goes in something like this, because we want the top of it to come through. Yeah, we want the top of it to come through that hole because we got to put the cotter pin in. Here, let me back up a bit. So here it is from the front facing back. We want the top of that spring to come through that hole so we can put the cotter pin back in. Let's see if we can do that. Yeah, it looks like we can. You see that? So I think you can see. Where's my pick? You can see that here's one pad, and then there's the shiny spring in the middle. Focus, and then you should be able to see the top of the other pad. And then the cotter pin goes through both. Right here, you can see it going through there, and coming at the other side. This is actually pretty straightforward. I'm pretty happy with it. Where's my cotter pin? Right, so that's reasonably straight, I think. It should be enough. Let's go back to where I was over here. Hope you can see that okay. Slide it right through. Oh my God, first time. Can you believe it? So I just want to go to the other side where it's sticking out and bend that sucker down or up, depending which way you're oriented. I'm going to want to do it up because that's where I am right now. There we go. Do you see that action? It's just a cotter pin. Just want to make sure it doesn't come out, because then your brakes might fall out. That wouldn't be acceptable. All right, that's not going anywhere. All right, let's go and see if the pedal, or not the pedal, but the lever feels any different. Pump up the pressure. That's feeling pretty spongy actually right now. Yeah, I feel spongy because I'm a freaking idiot and there's no disc for the pads to go onto, and so they've just gone and squished themselves together, and that's why it feels weird. And of course there's an added benefit. If there's any air in that reservoir up there, I've just pumped that down into the system because the brakes have traveled too far. So I ended up doing the right thing by the bike and the new pads. The piston had come out quite significantly on the right-hand side. It didn't seem to have moved on the left, so I'm kind of curious if there is if there's a seizure going on there. I'm not really sure. That's a real zoom in. Easily pushed the right one in. It's nice and flush. But yeah, on the left-hand side, yeah, you can see it. and that didn't seem to have moved. I wonder if that's my actual problem. Anyways, I'll get the pads in again and we'll see what happens. Here they are here. And try not to drop them on the ground. This is actually ridiculously easy compared to cars, but can you believe people pay me to fix their car issues? Jesus, Murphy. And cotter pin. Not there. Where'd it go? Here. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter what side I expand on, right? It's the same size hole, so we'll come around to this side. And where'd it go? There it is. Let's fold this bad boy. And somebody remind me to put the wheel on before changing hands. Put the wheel on before I squeeze the brakes. Cotter pin, pliers, grab, and bend. Wonder how many times you can reuse a cotter pin. Ideally, I'd rather not reuse it at all. It'd be nice if the brake guys gave you one, but they didn't. Anyways, there we go. Let's try to put the wheel on and then try the brakes. All right, wheel is on. Brake is in caliper. Pad's looking okay. Let's go around to the brake lever. Give it a squeeze. Well, that's still feeling pretty loose, guys. Let me try this side again. Well, you know, maybe it's not. I don't know. Feels a little loose. Maybe I introduced some air into this system. I'm actually just going to take it down to the end of the driveway and back real quick, see what happens. All right, I'm back from a little test ride. At first I was alarmed because it didn't seem to be making any difference, and then I remembered, just like cars, new brake pads take a while to bed in. So after about 15 or 20 stops, mostly moderate, and then I tried to do some full force ones. The performance came back really nice. I was actually able to lock up the rear wheel on gravel, which I couldn't even do before, believe it or not. So yeah, it'll probably even get a little bit better as things go on. I could call it a job well done at that point, but I do think I want to crack open the brake fluid reservoir up here just to make sure it's full, and maybe even do the bleed procedure. Besides, it will sort of justify my purchase of brake bleed kit and some mineral oil brake fluid. So we'll see how that goes. So I did go ahead with the brake bleed off camera. If you want to see a video of that, I can probably do one. I'll do the front brake, same procedure. Now the brake lever seems to be a lot more solid, and on the road test I am now able to even lock my rear wheel, whereas before that was a faint pipe dream. So I'm really happy with this. First time I've done disc brakes or brake pads on a bicycle before, and that's all I have to say for now.